And just to begin, even though we still have another minute, I want to just welcome everyone here. I'm Jamie Landau, Director of CELT, and facilitating this webinar today on Small Teaching Online. And I'm excited for folks to be here. We have a great group of those of you in the MLIS program, and we're beginning to wait while everyone arrives with an activity question. If you look in the top left-hand corner, it says choose a question to answer in the chat. Or then once we get started, you can unmute your mic. So if everyone could go ahead and answer in the chat, pick 1, 2, or 3, and share an answer. We already had Carlicia said for her answer to question 1, what is one strategy for small teaching online that she already knows and uses? And she said polling. Nicole wrote she uses for also one strategy for small teaching online, an online version of pre-writing. So if everyone else can go ahead and start answering in the chat, that would be great. So let's see. Linda, Peter, Yunsun, Donna, Colette. Thanks, Nicole. Okay, so Donna says for a small teaching online strategy she uses is she asks students to read and write on topics in advance of their synchronous chatting with the idea that the misunderstanding won't hurt them, right? Okay. Oh, sure, Linda. Well, I'll ask our participants to repaste their chat entries. So please, Nicole and Carlicia, if you could repaste your answers, that would be great. And since we are now at about 12:30, then y'all can also share, unmute your mic and share loud. So I'd like everyone to answer at least one of these questions. So Yoon-sun and Colette, would you like to share aloud?
I can, hi, it's Nicole. I could elaborate a bit on what I put in the chat.
Sure. Yes, thank you.
So actually, when I took the small and inclusive teaching, FLC, I don't know, whatever, a year or two ago, I've lost track of time, at CELT, Jamie Landau covered it one time and one of our sessions. And Jamie, you were talking about having students in face-to-face classes do some pre-writing about the topic of the class before they learn about the material, and then going back to that at the end of the class. And my initial thought was, well, I teach online asynchronously. I can't do that, but I actually do a version of that now, but instead of, I do it for the course. So I'll have, like in information policy or some other courses, I'll have them write something about, like, what's your definition of information? And I'm like, no citations, don't look anything up, tell me what your definition is now. And then during the course, depends on the question, sometimes at the end, but during the course we come back to it after we've talked about, like, what are some definitions that scholars have, and then we come back and talk about that again. So, and I found that works really well. I've used it where I have them do it at, like, a small essay at the beginning and then revise the essay at the end of the course. So, and I've gotten some really good stuff out of that. I think it works very nicely.
Great. Yeah. So Nicole's talking about a precognitive prompt where you prime people's brains about something they don't yet know about by getting them to predict and ask what they might know about it. Are you guys noticing anything about what I'm doing right now? Nicole?
Let me think for a second. Exactly. We're talking about what is small teaching before we actually talk about small teaching.
Colette was like, wait, I didn't know we were supposed to do homework before today. No. Yeah, you're not doing homework for today. But what number 2 is getting at is doing exactly what Nicole is doing now with her students, right? I'm getting you to try to predict and precognitively trigger your brains to guess what small teaching might be if you don't know about it already. And we'll talk more about why that's helpful. Thank you, Donna, for typing those in the chat. I appreciate that. So that was my intention with. So you don't need to have finished reading the book, Colette. This is part of the learning. The science of learning shows that people learn better if they're primed to think about what they might learn before they learn it. So that's exactly why part of the reason I'm doing this activity. One other great thing about a number of you is some of you have already tried some of these strategies, so you're starting to get a sense of what small teaching also might be with some of these examples. And then similarly with number 3, you're starting to see that small teaching isn't just about strategies, but also kind of creating relevancy for students. So I'm going to now move on and talk to you a little bit more about really the specifics of this activity and our learning outcomes for the webinar today. So let me now tell you a little bit, which is that, so I just mentioned this, but there are 3 different small teaching strategies you're going to learn today. And one of them is, as Nicole mentioned, that you want to, within the first week of the semester, and again, I'll have a worksheet and a PowerPoint slide for this later, but you want to actually trigger to start thinking about the idea before they learn it. So you'll discover that a small teaching strategy is that students can complete an activity within the first week related to an end of the term semester. So you'll see later that in your Start Here module, like Nicole was saying, even in an asynchronous online moment, you can already ask students what they might know about the topic before learning it. Okay, so I was starting to do that here today. Another small teaching strategy that you're going to learn today, and I'll have a chart with all of these, is to enable student autonomy by offering choice in their online discussions. See, I gave you guys a choice of responding to one of 3 different questions. And I gave you a choice of how you wanted to engage. Did you want to engage orally through your mic or chat in that way? And then another small teaching strategy is what Linda was talking about related to question number 3, which is to bring in current events that relate to the course content. So I just wanted to clarify that I was doing this activity to almost have a meta moment to show you and simulate exactly what small teaching is. Even though this is a synchronous online version, you guys will have an opportunity to think through how to do them asynchronously, even with some of the examples that y'all shared already. So the learning outcomes for today are: experience a simulation of small teaching online. So you just started to experience it. Define and identify small teaching strategies, which we've just started to do a little bit. Evaluate examples of small teaching, so we're going to actually kind of judge their effectiveness, right? You're going to apply small teaching strategies to your own course, and y'all are going to share your own pedagogical expertise and experiences, because we have such a great group here. So many of you have been teaching online for years, for decades even maybe, and so you have a lot of experiences to share with each other, even with already we've seen some examples to start us off. So what's the definition of small teaching? I had asked if anyone knew that, and some folks were sort of getting at it, but James Lang wrote a book called Small Teaching on the left here, the blue one, and that was a picture of him, by the way, and Flower Darby on the first slide. He wrote his book on the left in 2016 called Small Teaching: Everyday Lessons from the Science of Learning, and he's an English professor and director of the Teaching Center at a college in New England. And he's also a columnist for the Chronicle of Higher Ed. And so the overall definition here, and then the kind of synthesis of it here in the bold on the left, is ultimately what Flower Darby ends up applying to, applies the same premises and principles in her book of small teaching online. And she also argues in the book that you can apply these ideas to hybrid courses too. But in general, the definition of small teaching line you see right in front of you. It's an approach that seeks to affect change by giving busy faculty small, actionable modifications that they can make without having to overhaul their teaching from the ground up. And so see my little burst at the top? That was me saying, these actually lighten your workload rather than add to it. And I think that's one, and they have big impact on learning. So I think that's really one reason Small Teaching and then Small Teaching Online have been such popular books and approaches, because we always feel like when we're innovating with teaching that it takes a whole complete overhaul of a course, or you have to try something totally new and use all these new tools, and Small Teaching actually shows you don't necessarily have to do that. So Lang originally conceptualized them as brief. He was thinking of face-to-face courses, so he conceptualized them as brief 5 to 15-minute interventions. Of course, the minute situation doesn't apply as much to your online, especially asynchronous teaching. They're limited, right? So they're just small little inventions throughout an entire course. They're minor, right? Just minor changes to course design, and they're practical, right? You can use them immediately. And as I said, Flower Darby then applies those to online teaching. And she published this book. She is the primary author with Lang as a co-author. And if you read I think it was the introduction or the preface, she talks about how she went up to Lang at a presentation he gave on his book and told him she wanted to write the follow-up applying it to Small Teaching Online, which I thought was really awesome and bold of her. She's a senior instructional designer and adjunct at Northern Arizona University, and now she's a columnist for the Chronicle of Higher Ed. So perfect, Donna, thank you. And Linda, I appreciate you affirming Donna's idea. Yes, those are more examples of the kind of precognitive trigger before people have actually learned about it. So yeah, we'll talk. These are great examples you guys will be able to share more about in a bit. So I knew this group partially because I even worked with Linda to get kind of all of y'all who are in the same department, and then Carlation, Donna, and Peter, it's great to have you here too. But I knew this group already had a huge kind of probably your own inventory of examples and ways in which you're doing small teaching, but that you also wanted to learn new ones, right? And so I intentionally wanted to design this workshop too for a more advanced group, because a lot of folks on campus have already read the book or gone to some FLCs, like Nicole said, on small teaching. So here's how we're gonna kind of work the rest of the webinar. I've now created an inventory of strategies for Small Teaching Online, and I'm going to give it to you in a sec. There's a reason I'm not giving it to you yet, but I culled through the whole book, and I know Colette said she just finished the book too, and I created a huge list, like pulling almost as if Darby had created a worksheet out of the book. I created one. And so I'm going to give that to you in a second, and we're going to do the activity that's prompted here in the blue. And I'm glad, Colette, now you can see it. I'm so sorry that wasn't appearing before. But what I wanted to mention was that Darby organizes her book very similarly to the categories you see here, the 1, 2, 3, 6 categories I have. I kind of took the headings of the different chapters. She has 3 kind of sections, and then like 3 or 4 chapters within each section. And when thinking about this hour-long webinar, I was like, there's no way we're going to be able to go over everything. So what I ended up doing was sort of like synthesizing them and like combining some of them, and then kind of pulling out 5 sample strategies that will fall under each of these categories. So you will end up seeing 5 strategies about designing with the end in mind, 5 about guided engagement and student success, 5 about using multimedia tools, building community humanizing the course, giving strategic feedback, and motivating online students. And these are not all of them, as I mentioned, but I picked ones that I thought were maybe less familiar to those of you, or maybe even ones you already do, but then we're going to have a really cool conversation about them that you can share with your colleagues. So hopefully this will work now for you, Colette, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to now share this worksheet. I'm going to put it in the chat. Okay, and so let me give you guys all instructions about how we're going to do this. So the first thing is, I hope everyone can see the Google Doc in the chat. And what you want to first do, we are not going to like write on all this together. You're all going to write on your own. So if you could go into the Google Doc and you want to download it and save it to your computer right now to have it in front of you. It's almost like if we were face to face, I gave you this as a worksheet to write on. So if you've never downloaded a Google Doc, go to File and then go to Download, and then go to Microsoft Word. You want to be able to edit it. Are you guys able to get into it? Did that work? I'll put it in again. Maybe that one didn't work. Okay, it did work.
It worked just fine.
Okay, perfect. So how about everyone let me know once you're done downloading it and like you have a draft on your computer ready to fill out. Once everyone's done, just say done in the chat, and then we'll start next steps. Let's see, I'm waiting on Carlicia. Let me know if the Google Doc's causing you some challenge. Oh, you got it, okay. Yun Sun? I haven't heard from Yun Sun since we started, so maybe she's, okay, no worries, Donna. We have plenty of time. We're gonna make this a very workshopy and discussion based, so great. Okay, Carlicia, then we'll figure out a way for you to do this. Don't worry. I know what you're thinking now.
I was like, that's set up for the wrong workshop.
No, it's no, you didn't. Oh, that is a good idea, Colette. Yeah, Linda, do you want Colette to email it to you? Okay, Donna, that's a great idea. Thank you, Donna. Yes. So put it at the top of yeah. Okay. I think so. I guess Yun Sun may just not be online or something. So I'll just go ahead and get started. Okay. So
I'm here. I'm
you
here.
are.
Yeah. And then I, left my comment regarding my question, question 2. Yeah.
Oh,
maybe you missed it.
Sure, you did. Thank you so much. You said small teaching. Oh, and lovely. You actually defined it. Oh, I appreciate that. You got the definition right. So, are you ready for the Google Doc?
Yes, I downloaded and then trying to fill in.
Oh, don't fill it out yet. That's all I was asking.
Okay.
Okay. I just wanted everyone to be okay. Yeah, don't fill it out yet. Although I love that you guys are doing. Okay, so it sounds like everyone's ready. Thank you, Yunsen. I love that you got the definition right too. I'm so sorry I missed that. Okay, so everyone's downloaded it. So you're kind of seeing, but I just wanted to make sure we were all instructed that what you're going to do is fill in your name and the date. And I was kind of hoping you had taught an online course before. The majority of you have. I knew that because of the group. But yes, Donna and Carlicia, yeah, you're just going to maybe have to think about a course that you might teach. Just pick a course you might teach, and then you're just going to have a lot of no's. But that's okay. You'll see the activity will still really work for you. And so then you want to go down the checklist and just go down the whole checklist clicking yes or no. Okay, so don't worry about the box on the far right yet. Just go down the whole checklist. Do you do these, yes or no? These are all the strategies that I pulled from the book. And I tried to explain them as much as I could without us going through the book. So, but if you're going through it and you have a question, like just unmute your mic and ask me and I can explain it a little more, okay? So everyone will go down and check yes or no for the one course. But then after that, for today, what we're gonna do is then you wanna pick 3 strategies out of the entire list to then fill in that final box on the right in fleshing out, if you've done it before, what's an example? Like almost kind of like what Nicole and several of you were doing. Like flesh out the example. Was it effective? If so, why not? And or what remaining question might you have? And we're going to use these to then have a whole group discussion for about 20 minutes afterwards. So maybe you have a question because you're like, well, it kind of didn't work. Maybe my colleagues can help me figure out how to make it work. Or if you had never done it before, right, that's your question. Like, how would I do this in this particular online asynchronous graduate level course, right? So really, I want you to use that third column to apply it really nuancedly to your particular course, evaluate its effectiveness, kind of problem solve some of the obstacles, and pose a question that we're then going to discuss as a group. And only do that for 3. So for today, clearly you can fill this out another day for all of them, but we're going to, and so pick ones that you really want to talk about. Yes.
Do you want us to go through all 4 pages? I see there's different sections of the checklist.
Correct. Yes, but see, you're just doing one course.
One course, but all 4 pages of this checklist, and then we're going to pick 3. Is that what I heard you say?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And really just, yeah, literally you're going to I have us 15 minutes for everyone to work on their worksheet. So I'm going to let you guys go now, work on your worksheet, save it, and for about 15 minutes, y'all are going to work individually, and then guess what? We're going to spend a good 20 minutes talking about the 3, right? Talking about the 3 that you're really struggling with, or you want to share ideas, or you want to hear ideas from your colleagues. And so we'll really get good ideas from each other. Any additional questions? Okay, I will be quiet and I'm going to unmute my mic and look at the clock for 15 minutes, and y'all just take your time, but please write in the chat or ask a question as you fill it out if you have one. Okay, so we're going to start sharing in like less than a minute. So if just everyone can start kind of wrapping up their last thought. Clearly this worksheet, I knew y'all would love. I had fun creating it. So you will take it away today and continue to fill it out and think about it, like Linda said. But you can at least finish up what you're working on. And then, because really the point of this webinar is for y'all to now share expertise and strategies and problem solve with each other. So, cool, Cola. Of course, it's a Google Doc. You can edit it. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I know that people's bandwidth and all that, you may not want to turn on your camera, but if you want to turn on your camera, honestly, at this point, I have allotted 15, let's see, how many minutes did I allot? 50, we're at 10:25, basically until 25 after. So we have about 15 minutes, almost 20 minutes. Now for y'all to start sharing with each other, asking questions of each other about those three, or at least one of the ones that you want to discuss. And if everyone, since we can't see each other's individual fill out worksheets, you'll just want to be very clear, like, I want to talk about this one and this section. How do you guys do this? What do you think about this? And everyone can kind of, y'all can just conversation, and I'll be here to jump in and help and clarify if I can as well. So feel free. We have a small enough group that you could even probably just talk, and I don't think we need to do raise hands as well. So who wants to start us off with sharing an example, asking a question, talking about effectiveness, about one of the three they focused on?
I'll go first. This is Linda. I'm not turning on my camera because of a lot of issues. I'm working at home today. So in the first portion, design with the end in mind, item 5, it says instructor tilts assignment, states purpose was with relevance of instructor tilts assignment, states purpose with relevancy of assignment to lives of student and learning outcomes, clarifies tasks for how to complete it, and identifies criteria for grading with exceptions, rubric, and examples. So I said I'm doing this informally and I need to make it more explicit as a teaching strategy because my graduate course that I'm teaching this semester is Human Resources Management, but it's intended specifically for MLIS students. And you can't find a textbook that says Human Resources Management for librarians. They don't publish such a thing. So you have to go to the public sector, like public admin. And then my job is to take what's in a general textbook and make it relevant to the setting in which these students want to work or are already working. So that's the relevancy to the lives of the students. And then how to complete it is more of an informal give and take, and because they're graduate students. And I think rubrics is a given in this day and age for at least the content, if not the style. I don't get into writing style or anything unless I want them to do it a very specific way. Then I would have to give them an example of how I want the paper set up or the work submitted.
So y'all, this discussion is for y'all to ask questions, to, maybe you do that as well. I can share a lot more on tilt, but I also don't want to pull the conversation in a direction that y'all aren't interested in.
I actually picked this one also. For all my instructions, I actually start out with the first section is called objective, and I say what the point of why I'm doing it, basically. Sometimes it seems fairly obvious, but I still state it anyways, because I feel that way students understand that I actually think about this, and I'm not just having them do things. That every assignment has an objective, and there's a reason. And the assignments I included background and as much as possible where it's appropriate for the assignment, I talk about how it relates to practice in libraries because we're a very practice-oriented program. And also where appropriate, I connect assignments to each other in the assignment instructions. You know, I'll say like, this is so you'll be ready to do this other thing or something, or this is building up to the final paper. I think it works pretty well because actually I've found that I'm getting very few questions in my classes now about assignments, how to do them, what I mean. I get some, and sometimes I get the like, what exactly do you want me to do? It's graduate programs, so I'm kind of like, I'm not going to tell you exactly. I'm going to give you these I'm going to give you guidance, and I do use rubrics. I wrote for major assignments. So the course I was writing about, there are actually several assignments that build up to the final paper, like 2 annotated bibliographies. Honestly, if they give me annotated bibliographies, if they get it even vaguely right, if they annotate like 5 articles each, which is the requirement, they get the points. They're small points. So I don't actually do a rubric for that, but I give them a lot of examples of what an annotated bibliography would look like. And so I think it works. I think it works pretty well. I think the students, I like to be transparent about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it as much as possible.
I've been doing that a lot more this semester because I haven't taught for a while, and it's a new course for me, and I don't have anything to hide from the students. I want them to know that we're figuring it out as we go along, and if some of them have found a good resource or it became very clear that there was a missing piece of content that they needed for something, I'm just going to tell them and say, thank you. You know, I will put this in for next time. And I don't mark people down. It's not about marking. It's about them learning what they need. Because I'm teaching an elective, they chose to be in that course.
I find it so interesting that y'all picked up on the tilt ones, a couple of you. This is a huge movement in undergraduate education right now. Huge.
I think for us in our discipline, we're probably pretty far ahead, and some of us coming out of the same educational background have a lot of philosophy of online learning in common already.
Oh, well, tilting is not actually about online, though. That it's huge in face-to-face undergraduate education right now. I should have clarified that. So, because you can imagine our first-year students really struggling with, right, how to complete academic work and how to follow instructions and why it matters to their lives. So, no, I'm just making a comment. I think it's neat to kind of see how y'all are applying it and want to apply it more in your graduate online programs, too.
Well, I am no longer the sage on the stage. Never was and never will be. I just be the guide on the side and let them set their road, except when there's stuff they have to learn because there's standards and expectations in place.
But I think that's true for most of our courses because, at least my impression in most of our faculty courses, is that you may be guiding the course, but we always have somebody in there that has significantly more knowledge and expertise. And so we might be building the scaffold to enable them to provide what they know as well as what we want to share. I mean, especially in my area of youth services, there's always somebody that knows 100 times more than I do about a given author or a given programming style for children. And if I'm trying to be the expert, I'm going to fail.
So
Nicole's comment.
Sorry.
No, Nicole's comment makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and you see that in a lot of these themes, right? In Bard Darby's sections, right? Guiding students, even that's. How about that suggestion to have students co-create the syllabus with you? Anyone?
I don't know about that.
Not happening. There are too many opinions, too many experts. If we don't come in with a scaffold in place.
So that one gets a thumbs down from you guys. What about?
Well, keep in mind we also don't have the flexibility of any live interaction. So if we are trying to develop a scaffold, we could spend the first half of the semester collaborating to do that.
Mhm.
Now,
Well,
collaborating to build something in a future syllabus, absolutely. And I've done that with students. That's how we wound up with the grants course,
that's cool.
because an activity I used in one course went over like gangbusters and became so valuable, and so many students got grants out of it that it evolved into a full-blown course, not explicitly directed at youth services, and is expanding even further now. And that's because of that synergy that comes when you build things together. But asynchronous online and building your syllabus together, if we were synchronous, maybe.
Well, it's not the syllabus. Remember, these are small teachings. She just suggests one, what is that list? Sorry, y'all aren't interested in that, so we don't have to go there. But I'd love.
No, it's not that we're not interested. I actually just spent some time reading through that and sort of laughing, because I'm going, oh, this would be awesome. Can we have face-to-face?
Oh yeah.
Can we have the live interaction so we could actually effectively do this?
It's motivate online students number 3. They annotate the syllabus or fill in the blank for a learning outcome with one assignment. So
yeah.
So what about another area? Exactly, Nicole. That's what I meant. Remember, these are small teaching. These are micro moments. We're not talking about them building the whole course with you, although that was a cool outcome that happened to you.
One of the big things I pulled out of here, in one of the sections on, and I couldn't find the exact quote, but I'm sure it was in the strategic feedback section somewhere, and that was the explicit instructions. And I took a 1-line rubric and turned it into a 6-line rubric for each discussion board. So there was no mystery about the expectation that we want them to post early in the week so that they have time to then interact with other students. And we want them to interact on more than one day so that they can have a conversation and they can have that give and take. And so, yeah, it takes me a little bit longer to go through and verify that people are doing what they're supposed to. But as the semester has continued, it's amazing the difference in the participation level overall. It's not just that people are following the rubric, they're far more interactive when I force them to do that first post. And then I make them return to respond on multiple days, instead of what was happening was we had a few very active people post early, and the majority would post the day it was due and react to those that were already there. And I had never been able to get my head around how to do that until I started reading. There are notes to something along those lines in here, literally, that I pulled straight out of there and revised the rubric to my course from.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat. That's give strategic feedback number 2. Yeah.
The other one that I had made a significant change was considering availability. And I did this before I got the book, but when I got the book, I just went, oh, amen. I had always had things due on Fridays. I'm sorry, on Mondays.
See, that's number 2 on my thing.
Students always wanted to have the weekend to work on things, yada, 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 except it then meant I spent 6 to 8 hours Saturday and Sunday coaching the students that hadn't looked at the assignment until the day before it was due. And so was about a year and a half ago, I had this meltdown because I hadn't had a day off in 3 months and shifted everything to being due on Fridays. Module opens on Friday, all assignments are due on Fridays, everything's due Friday at noon, period. All of a sudden, I have weekends where I only spend an hour or 2 a day answering questions. When the real push comes on Thursday or Friday morning, because we wouldn't want to do these things ahead, I'm in a place where I can happily sit down and spend hours at a time helping them, which made a significant difference in my life. And while some of them would prefer to have the second weekend, the weekend right before it's due, once you tell them you got that same 7 days, it's your choice when to spend your time on it. A lot of them have started shifting that work forward so that they can do it when they have time. Oh, I'm not giving them a cell number. Nope. They can text me, email me, whatever they want, but I have 90 odd students. I'd be getting calls from 40 of them.
So is there
It's a good idea, Donna, but you're way nicer than I am.
Well, and my point is I don't have a ton of students, and I wait till midterm and make sure I know them, and I haven't had a student take advantage of it. So I'm just in a different place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. True. That would make a difference. And I won't say I've never given a student my cell number, particularly somebody in a crisis, or that I'm trying to get back to where they need to be because they've had a crisis. But yeah, I did think about getting a second cell phone so they could text, and the cost was prohibitive for me. But
Colette,
I have.
You can, IT can set it up for you so you can get your office calls on your phone. And you just have them call your office also.
I don't want them calling on the weekend.
Oh, well, okay. But I just meant instead of giving them your cell phone number or having a different. Yeah.
No, I really would prefer they not call. But again, I've got all of the foundations people, so they're just getting in. I also work with youth services, and they are special little snowflakes that would like us to hold their hands. They're awesome, they're fun, but they really like TLC. So, yeah, that would not be the case here, Donna,
So
unfortunately.
Yunsun brought up another topic. I just want to make sure we get through. I'm not sure. Okay, Yunsun, do you mind sharing out loud a little bit about it?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes. I picked the first question from the instructor provide a checklist with steps, progress, cumulative assessment, incremental deadline. In my course, huge core course, there's a huge file to work on the final project, separate, which is discussed in several weeks, like total among the 16 weeks, week 4, 6, 7, and 12. Several topics for the different several weeks covered to work on the final. So in that case, usually end up with, the week 12, I provide a checklist regarding the detail and guideline to remind the students, and also to provide with the key detail and summarize. So what they need to know to work on the project by step, and then some details about the activity they need to remind. So that is very helpful, because before I provide that kind of step-by-step guideline, they ask so many questions, the deadline for final project approaching. But after that, they are very, assured about what they do to work on the final project. So I thought it was really worked.
Oh, cool, Yunsun. Do you, is it like a literal checklist that they check off?
No, I usually, make a PowerPoint slides for each week. And then I also provide, the whole, the slide for the final project itself. So it's like a total, So took some from the,
your slide.
Yeah, it's a slide, and then to provide some summarized details, the key detail regarding those steps. So whole, the guidelines made using the PowerPoint, so they can use visualize point, and then they can the remind what they learn.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think that's definitely what Flower Darby's talking about. She literally makes a checklist. Like it's literally like what I did with the worksheet, like boxes that they check. So that may be too much hand holding for grad students or something, but I definitely think what you're doing is an example of what she's describing. I see Donna's bringing up the OOPS token, and I also do this, by the way. I mean, I haven't taught fully online, but I'm teaching HighFlex this semester. Donna, I don't know if you want to answer Colette's question aloud, but yeah, that is one challenge to doing those, is sort of keeping track of them.
Well, for me, I just have kind of a table set up for the entries each week, and I list them at the top and put a check if they did okay. So it's pretty easy to see at a glance what's been turned in, and then at the end of the week, I put in their grade, which is usually a B range, or it's a 40 or a 30 if they've missed some entries, and then they usually have a week to do them, but they don't get all the points back. They get most of them back, and I just say, look, stuff happens. Stuff happens for me. I miss deadlines to turn in faculty activity reports. I mean, I'm late on stuff. Your life is your life, but at some point, you get to a point where you can't catch up. So, you know, be an adult.
Yeah. That's why I'm reverberating through someone's speaker. I'm sorry about that. That's why Darby does say, like, this is not like a constant thing that you give them. Like it's a token, meaning they have one or two. You know, it's you know, it does. Like Donna said, it still needs to be controlled and not just like constant allowance for missing deadlines. But yeah, I call it my grace period. That's what I call it. But the no questions asked thing is key, because then you don't have to deal with the like, oh, I didn't do it because of this reason or this reason or this reason. So in that way, it reduces my workload. Cool, Linda. I see you have an example. Okay, well, look at this. Such a great conversation. I do have one more slide, because you know that I would not end a webinar without using a small teaching strategy to end it. So let me pull up my slides again, and you're going to recognize now what you're going to see. But Darby talks about, right, one small teaching strategy is to kind of end a unit, either a discussion board or a synchronous online discussion, with these two questions, or one of these questions. Ask your students to summarize, right? What are 3 takeaways? So I'm going to ask y'all to do, what are some 3 takeaways from today? And by the way, you don't have to do all 3. But, or where were you going before today, before coming to this webinar, and did you get there? And so this time I'd love you to type on the beige whiteboard, or some of you can share out loud. So again, I'm kind of trying to make it interactive and use some different tools. And so if you go up to the little T and then click a color, and you can go ahead and start writing some of your takeaways from today, right? What was at least 1, maybe 3 of your main takeaways, and or where were you going before this webinar, and did you get there? So I'd love everyone to write on the board, or you can unmute yourself and share aloud. So Carlisha, Peter, everyone. And don't worry, I'll clean up the board. I know it's going to get a little crowded. I can move things around. Cool, we've got some great things already. So validation of things you've already been doing were intuitively and made explicit. Yeah, and you know, Linda, all of this, these strategies are based in research, evidence-based pedagogy. So none of these are just like random. So what's neat is now you have some kind of evidence behind also your intuitive teaching. Yeah, I was just reminding folks for the, you know, who don't know much about the book. Let's see, Carlisha got great ideas for actually doing her teaching online next semester, because she hadn't taught before. And Carlisha, these are ideas you can apply to face-to-face courses too. Let's see, we had someone made the idea, like they saw that Flower Darby talks about connecting like the end of your semester with the beginning of your semester. Yep, so kind of seeing how to build connections through the course. Someone learned maybe they can create some more formal checklists, or like we were talking about, the scaffolding. Peter learned, who's by the way, y'all, we had a student intern here who was observing today and learning from y'all about online teaching. And so he learned there's a lot of really interesting strategies for interactive online teaching. Yes, yes, let me move this. Good new team building ideas. Oops, I may have just moved someone's away from them. Nicole, if that was you, sorry, I moved your name. Ooh, does everything have to be video? Okay, y'all, you picked up on something interesting. Yes, thank you, Linda. I got that grace period from another faculty member. But Nicole, by the way, if you want to ask about that question, Flower Darby is really into video. That I have noticed that in her work, and so she really pushes the informal videos, as you saw that. So that could be a critique, if that sounds like you're sort of wondering.
Well, I love videos. I make a lot of videos. I use videos, but I use videos throughout my courses and some audio responses and stuff. But yeah, I noticed everything. There were a bunch of things. It was like I was about to check yes, and I'm like, well, I do that, but I don't make it into but it's not a video, right? It's not a video. It's a meme, or it's text, or it's, you know. So yeah, I don't think everything has to be a video. That's my feeling. But I get the idea that it's good to have video, audio, all different kinds of multimedia. That's really important. But it's not that multimedia if everything's a video.
Yeah, and
it
could be that also I just pulled out all of her video examples, but I've just noticed she's even in her columns for Inside Higher Ed or the Chronicle, she's always pushing use of video. And I honestly, this is actually interesting. I'm wondering if this is a disciplinary thing with you guys, because you're librarians, so you really highly value text, right? And reading. And it's sort of like, if you're going to go into get a master's degree in library and information science, you better be and be good at reading text. Whereas this might be an example where she's pushing more for undergraduate online teaching, and too many other faculty default to the text when our general undergraduates really actually learn and might be more engaged by video. So I think that tension that you're picking up on, Nicole, is actually in the book, like the tension in the book, that she's pushing video because it would be more engaging for an undergraduate audience. But your discipline is not only graduate, but also readers. So yeah. So that was a very interesting. Well, yeah, no, Donna, the boring thing is a big deal. Like, you know, notice she says micro lectures and informal videos. Like, she really constantly says in her book, like, all those pre-recorded lectures that faculty are doing for like an hour, she's like, thumbs down, thumbs down. And there's a lot of interesting research that students click off them within 5 minutes. So yeah, so she means very short. Yeah, even literally, her recommendation is 6 minutes. That's her preferred 6 minute. I went ahead and put 15 in there because micro lectures can often be a little longer. Well, you guys, this was an excellent conversation. Your goal is 7 minutes, yeah. So I knew there would be so much more to talk about, and what I'm hoping is that you take that worksheet, that inventory, and you continue to fill it out and think about it and talk about it with your colleagues, and then you can copy and paste it and use it for another course. And there are even more strategies in the book. You know, I couldn't fit all them in, but Linda, we do have extra copies of the book and sell. If you want to just take it out, you can email Obi. I think there also might be a digital version offered through our library, which y'all would know that too. But oh, you just need to own it. Well, literally, I gave you a cheat sheet for the whole book, so maybe you don't now have to read the whole book. Oh, not an online version, Nicole. Well, so thank you guys. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to screenshot this, but I'm also going to stop the recording so that I can then put it up in BlazeView 101. But y'all, with the PowerPoint slide, so you are more than welcome to rewatch